Good evening, Melissa Johnson here for episode 92 of Melissa Loves to Talk. Today is June 12th, 2026. Hope you had a great week. It's been okay for me. Today, I slept in a little bit, which was nice, like an hour, not a lot, but it's nice even in an hour. Uh, Today the weather, it was pretty warm. It stormed a little bit and it's back to being warm. So it was nice at first. It was a little breeze and then it quickly became humid, which I love the summer. It doesn't bother me. Um I just wish that I lived near a pool and I could go get in a pool and sit by the pool. But other than that, I like the summer. But anyway, so today is going to be probably very controversial. I may be kicked off of some stuff just because we all have to be here, right? Even if you are not white like I am, you have to be over the race stuff, right? Like in 2026, why are we still here? Why are we still saying that white people are racist and Black people cannot be racist? Why are we still in this place? Like, I feel like by 2026, we should not be having this conversation anymore, but we keep going back to it. And I know it's the enemy. I know it's on purpose to create division. Like, we can never be united because then we'll be strong and we can be stronger than the government, which is what we are supposed to be. The government keeps controlling us by making everything about race. So therefore, they're always in control, which is not how this country was made. This country was made for we the people. We are supposed to be in control, but because we can't get it together, we as in all, not me, you, we as in all, I'm saying we can't get it together because everything's always got to be divided by race. No matter what happens, it comes back. So even when we got to where it wasn't all about race, Obama came in, he made it racial again. Then I think it got a little bit better. Like once we got rid of Obama and we had Trump again, and then George Floyd happened. So then it ramped up again. Right. And so since 2020, it's not ever been better. It just keeps going worse, worse, worse. And statistically, if you look at statistics, I believe it's like somebody just said it today, and I want to say it's about 12, 13%, something like that, do say they're racist, white people. There are like 12 or 13% of white people, which today I also saw that there is 20, how many, I meant 200 million white people in this country. So if it's 12%, how many is that? So I guess if you look at it that way, that is about 20 million people that are racist, white wise. Okay. Now, I will say some white people have justification for being racist. I don't agree with them, but I would say they have justification. If you look how white people always get treated. I've had multiple podcasters say this. Hey, if you're walking down the street and you see a group of Black guys, do you walk across the street or do you walk past them? Because what happens 7.5% of the time, because that's what he said. He's a Black guy. And he said 7.5% of the time, if you walk by them, they're going to start trouble with you. And he's a Black guy and it happens to him. They're going to start trouble. They're going to say something to you. Now, being a white woman, I would walk across the street, even if it was probably a group of white guys. I would still probably walk across the street, but definitely if it's a group of black guys, I would walk across the street. Okay. Because I know we are attacked because we're white. Anyway. So, like I said, as a woman, I would probably walk across the street if it was any color of a group of guys. I'm just going to be honest. But more likely, if it was a group of black guys, I would. Now, I grew up in Baltimore City, and I used to walk around a lot by myself. And even back in the 80s and 90s, well, more 90s, because I was in, middle school in the 80s. So the 90s, I probably would have still walked across the street for a group of guys, no matter what color, as a woman. So a little bit different for a woman than I know a man. But this was a black man that said he would even walk across the street if it's a group of black guys. Because 7.5% of the time, they're going to start trouble. So there is 2.5% time when they're not. So you do have the ones that don't start trouble. But because the majority is 7.5, you have people that are afraid. And that's the way they want it. They want you to be afraid. That's the purpose. That's why the media and the left push it. They want white people to be afraid. They want Christians to be afraid. They want us to live like that so that we don't get out of line. They hold us in line. That's what they're really doing is, well, these white people aren't going to get out of line because these black people are going to do something about it. And that's literally what it comes down to. Keep us in line. When there's actually way more of us than them, but that's not the way we see it because we're quiet, we keep to ourselves, we're not doing stupid things, so we think that we're outnumbered. When I saw the video today, we are we're 62% of the population, and black people are only 13% of the population. More like 14 or 15 now because Roe versus Wade, less people are getting abortions and aborting their black babies. So the population's getting bigger now, which is good. We don't want babies killed in a womb, no matter what color. So because of that, now we have the population getting bigger, which is good. We want them to get bigger, but we don't want them to get ruder. We don't want them to keep thinking of race, but it's all the time. Every time something happens, it's about race. Everything. And it gets old. It's like, why can't we get past race by now? Like by now, we should not be talking about race 24/7. Okay, I am not live on Facebook. I just looked at that. So give me a second. Oh, there I am. That was weird that it was that delayed. Okay, anyway, that was very weird that it was that delayed. It's not usually that delayed. Okay, well, okay, so we just keep ending back here. And why do we keep ending up back here? Like I said, we end up back here because the media gets away with it, right? The media keeps pushing it. They won't stop pushing it. And as long as they push it, the left pushes it, it just keeps getting pushed and we have to deal with it. Okay. Ever since, like when I was younger, okay. I grew up in Baltimore City. I said that. Okay. So I grew up in Baltimore City. I was born in the 70s. That means I'm pretty old. I'm not going to tell you exactly how old. Okay. So I was raised the volume. Am I not loud? Hello. Okay, not sure. I think something's wrong with the whole system. Not really sure what's going on. But we'll see. Um, anyway, so I grew up in Baltimore City. Where I lived originally, it was called Remington. That's where, well, when I was a baby, I lived in Hamden, but I don't remember that. I was too little. When I was 5, we moved to Remington. Okay. Now, Remington, the part we lived in was majority white. Okay. Where we lived, it was like a very weird, where we lived, our block was like an L. And so you go down the street and then you made a left. So it was like all one road. And it was called 30th Street, is where I lived for 5 years. So we lived there. There was like a Chinese family across the street and everyone else was white. So pretty much for about 2 blocks, then you'd go down. It, like I said, it was predominantly white. But if you go up to the corner of my house, come out of my house, make a right, go to that corner, that was, cannot remember the name of the street. I can see the street in my brain, but I cannot remember the name of the street. So you make a right, you go straight down, you start to get into the more neighborhood that was a little bit more black people. Now that's the way I walked to school. So we walked that way to school, which we walked about maybe 8 or 9 blocks to school, roughly. I don't really perfectly remember how many blocks, but I would say about 8, 9, maybe even 10 blocks, okay, to school. It's city. The blocks are a little bit different than where I live now. Okay. Like I said, where I lived was all white people besides the one Chinese family. You walk down, you get closer to like Guilford Avenue. If anybody knows anything about Baltimore City, if you're on here, if you walk that way, you get to Guilford Avenue, which my school was past Guilford Avenue. Okay. My school now in elementary, when I was 5 to 10, my school was probably 70 to 80% black and 20 to 30% white. I'm going to guess. Again, was very little, can only remember. Don't ever remember racism. Do not remember getting called names. All my friends were my friends. Matter of fact, the 2 closest friends, my whole, like from elementary to middle school, all my really closest friends were boys. My closest 2 friends were actually from Philippines. One was from the Philippines and cannot remember the other one. I want to say Japan. I'm not positive. Of course, they were born here. Their parents were from there. Okay. They were my 2 closest friends. Again, I was, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess even in 5th grade, I left in the middle of 5th grade and moved, but they were like still my closest friends. I can see their faces, cannot really remember their names. And then I had a couple girlfriends, Martha and Sabrina. They were like my 2 girlfriends. I was pretty close with them. But that was pretty much it. But we all talked. We were all friends. Nobody was calling each other names. Everything was cool. Okay. Then we moved from Remington to Highlandtown. Okay. Now, Highlandtown was on the other side of town. So still Baltimore City, but the other side of Baltimore City. So it was like past the harbor. Like if you drove from Remington through the harbor to the other side of the harbor to Fells Point, then you get to Highlandtown. Okay. If anybody's on here that knows what I'm talking about. If not, sorry. we lived pretty close to the harbor at this point. I could walk from my house. I would walk to the harbor when I was a teenager. Um, it was a good walk, but back then that's all we did. We walked everywhere. So when I transferred there, again, all white people, and my school probably had about 5 black people in it at that point. So didn't have to deal with any of that. There was about 5 black people in the whole elementary school. Then I went to middle school. Now I went to a school that was you had to have higher grades. It was called advanced academic. So it was a regular middle school, but 2 classes. It was 2 6th grade classes, 2 7th grade classes, 2 8th grade classes. They were advanced academic. So I got to go to this school. I had to take public transportation, which we called it an MTA bus in Maryland. And I had to take it to school. Now, there, you'd see all kinds of people. Okay. Never had problems on the bus. Got to school. This school was probably about 60% black, 40% white. I would say it was almost even. Might have been a little bit more. I was very close to the projects at this point. So you had some of those kids coming in. Again, wasn't a lot of racism though. Everyone pretty much got along. Again, my closest friend was actually at this point was a black guy. His name was Dominic. He was one of my closest friends. And then I had a couple girlfriends and then a couple guy friends that were white. My best friend was Puerto Rican. So it wasn't no racism. We just lived our lives. We were all friends. Everything was cool. Then I go to high school, which I went to an all girls school, high school, which was probably 80% black, 20% white. Again, never didn't hear people calling people names. Everyone got along. There was very, very few fights. There was fights, of course. It's girls. Come on. But I didn't grow up with all that stuff. So would I hear it? Yes. There were probably times when you would hear about race. Okay. Of course. Especially in middle school. In middle school, there were a couple times people would say something about white people or something like that. It just wasn't all the time. It wasn't, they weren't calling me names. I wasn't calling them names. There wasn't other white people calling them names. Everybody got along. Everybody was friends. I don't know what happened when things started changing. Like I said, Obama, but I'm pretty sure it probably transitioned a little bit before that. But again, there wasn't social media. There wasn't, everything out there. So a lot of things we didn't even probably know was going on, maybe. But again, I lived in Hollandtown. The neighborhood really stayed pretty much the same until I got to about 16. Then, some black families started moving in. No big deal. The neighborhood never got bad. No one ever fighting about race. Everybody was friends. Of course, the blocks are very small. I don't know if anybody has ever seen like row homes. It was all row homes. I grew up very poor in Baltimore City in a row home. Okay. Everybody was very close. All the houses were connected on both sides of the street. There was a street for people to go up. No, it was a one-way street. So you could only go down the street. We played in the street. We played in the alley because there was an alley. It's just none of it. You know, yes, did people fight? Yes. But it wasn't, oh, I think you're a racist. I think this. I think that. None of that. That wasn't going on. Even, like I said, in high school, I never heard it. I actually had to take another MTA bus to high school. Saw all kinds of people. I will tell you that most of the problems that I had was there was another all-girls school that would catch the bus with us, and we would pick on them, or they'd pick on us, because it's rivalry. You know, it was nothing about, you know, black, white. It was never like that. It was rivalry. They're all girls. We're all girls. We're better than them. They're better than us. That kind of thing. Didn't deal with any of that stuff. And then got older. Never really heard of it. Never even thought of it. Really just never thought of it. You know, it never crossed my mind to be racist. Until, like I said, around the time Obama got in there, he started pushing it. Pushing, right? Why do we have to push it? Again, like I said, it's about dividing. Hey, if everybody's getting along, they're going to realize there's more of you than us, right? If you've seen The Bug's Life, if you saw The Bug's Life, you see they finally figured it out, right? They were like, wait a minute. There's more of us than them. Why are we giving them all our food? Right? You saw that. I'm sure everyone has seen that movie. We get there. We're like, if we could figure that out, there's more of us than them. Instead of letting the government keep controlling us, which is not what the Constitution is, not what this government was founded on. That's why they want to push democracy. Because democracy is where the mob rules. So majority rules. And we don't have that kind of country. We have a constitutional republic. So as long as they can keep us at each other doing this, everything's about race. Everything's about race. And it's funny is now all the races are against the white people. Not all. Not all. Okay. I'm going to sound like Steven Crowder. Not all, not all, not all. Okay. What I'm saying is that's where it is. It's like the black people say black and brown people. We got to fight against the white man. And then we keep letting this happen. All of us, white people, black people, Spanish, Asian, all of us. We all let the government do this. We let the media. It's really the media, and then the government feeds off. The left is like, ooh, the media's doing it. The media is separating people. The media is making it work, right? This is what they do. And we fall for it all the time. We're always like, oh, okay, but not us. We as in people, not saying you, not you and me. People fall for it. And we're always like, why do we keep falling for it? Well, because people don't learn from their mistakes. People just keep doing the same thing instead of learning from their mistakes. So I don't really know the solution. I can tell you what I think. Again, I'm a nobody. You know, I'm not anybody that has any influence unless someone just happens to see this and they're like, oh man, she's got a good point. Possibly. I'm on a lot of things and I would love for someone to make this click in someone's brain. That's important. Okay. We need to pray. Pray. Get back to prayer. Get back to Jesus is in control. He rules and reigns. And stop being focused on all the other things. Like, yes, we have to vote. Yes, we have to work. Yes, we have to take care of our families. But we're so mesmerized by what we see on social media. I try to look at social media very minimally. which is kind of hurting me in a way because of doing this. I need to know what's going on. And sometimes I just don't feel like looking at it. I get fatigue, right? That's what people like to say. I'm just so fatigued by the news. I watch podcasts from I watch a faith-based podcast in the morning. So about 7:45 to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm watching podcast. Again, from 7:45 to 9, it's about Jesus. So it's some word, then some videos, and then Bible quiz for an hour and 15 minutes. So my brain's, pointed at Jesus for an hour and 15 minutes, and then it's flooded with news till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And sometimes at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes I even watch a podcast at 4 o'clock, so till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Because the one podcaster I just started watching, he's not always on. So if he's on at 4 o'clock, I watch him at 4 o'clock. So I watch him to 4 to 5. So my brain's watching podcasts, and that's where I get a lot of my news. I don't watch a lot of social media because I feel like it's just an overload. It's like my brain is overloading with info. And then I can see how they react to stuff too. And is it something I even want to look at? Is it something I want to research? Depending on how they react to it. Now, sometimes I have a different view on how they look at it, but honestly, most of the time, the people that I watch, I have the same reaction as they do, which is very shocking because most of the time you won't agree with the people that you watch, right? At least not all day, because I watch, let's see, I don't want to say who exactly I watch. I mean, I could because I could give them some props, I guess. But I watch Graham Allen at 9, pretty much Monday through Friday. I usually don't skip him. And then normally from 10 until 3, I watch LFA, which is Christian news, which Graham Allen is. They're Christian also. So it's all Christian news. So they're speaking, as Christians about the news. So they're going to say, well, God says this and God says that. So it's commentary from a Christian standpoint. I'm not watching, news that's just giving me news. I do watch Steven Crowder. I don't watch him every day live. Sometimes I go back and watch him. Mostly because they don't really watch the chat that much. So it's not beneficial where when I watch these other guys, they watch chat so I can chat with people and say what I think about what they're saying and give them ideas. And they'll read my ideas sometimes and say, well, Melly Johnson, because that's my screen name on there. Melly Johnson, guess what she said? Blah, 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 blah. And you give information to each other. Oh, I never looked at it that way. Oh, I didn't even know that. Because, of course, they don't know what's happening in my state. So I give them info about my state sometimes. Well, like we've been talking about the gas price. And they're like, oh, what's your gas price where you are? So, of course, you write your gas price in where you're from. I don't know. I like interactive chats. So that's why I do that a lot. Which I wish I could stay on 2 chats, but I only have one screen and my phone, so I can't see 2 chats at one time. I'm hoping in the future that I will be able to have a way to see 2 chats, but right now I can't see 2 chats. I hate that because I would really like to see 2 chats. Because also the other day I got a comment and I couldn't see it anymore. So I was pretty sad about that because again, I can't see 2 chats at the same time. I can go back and forth, but then my screen freezes. It's crazy. So, I try to do that, but it won't work for some reason. I don't know why, because if I'm watching a podcast and I switch the screens, I can watch both. But for some reason, I can't watch myself like that. I'm frozen. So, so I'm pretty much in the chat on Facebook, but for some reason, I cannot get into both chats on Rumble and on Facebook. So I'll just stay in the Facebook because I normally have more people that say things on Facebook than Rumble, which I'm hoping to change soon because I kind of like the interaction. But again, right now I can't get both screens. I'm hoping in the future I'll have another laptop or something and I can have the chat open. But right now I cannot because I don't have the money. So we'll see in the future. My throat's very tickly today. I'm guessing that pollen's high because it's so humid, I'm guessing. Anyway, so this is what they do, is they like, as long as we have division, as long as we are fighting each other, the media is ecstatic because it gives them content. And the Democrats, leftists, Democrats, Lulus, whatever you want to call them, I have lots of names for them. They love it because they know they have us divided, that we can't overtake them because we don't have enough that agree. Okay. I'm not saying we need a revolution and we need to take over the government. I'm not saying that at anything, but I'm saying is if, you know, how we get together is we all vote them out. That's what we do. Because if you didn't know, no seat is a Republican and no seat is Democrat. We vote them into that seat. We can vote them out of that seat. See, people don't they see seats as red or blue. Okay. Those seats get flipped all the time. There's no red or blue seats. There's no red or blue state. So if we could all figure out, we want to vote out the communist, socialist, Marxist, whatever you want to call them, use your own words to label these psycho people. If we just voted them out, that's all we have to do. We don't need a revolution. We just need to show up and vote them out. November, there's one Republican, one Democrat that's running for that seat. It's not like the primaries where you have a million, right? Especially in like Georgia, Texas, California, where they have jungle primaries. Right? When you get to November, it's just one Republican, one Democrat. Hey, if we all voted for the Republican, it doesn't matter whose seat that was. It's now that Republican seat. It's no longer that Democrat seats. See, people just assume, oh, New York is blue. They're going to keep those seats. Not necessarily. Because I didn't know that 5 million Republicans live in California. You would think not even 5 million. You would think hardly no Republicans live in California, right? Sorry, I keep choking. I'm going to try to get another cough drop. I think it was 5 or 6. 5 or 6 Republicans live in California. So if every Republican that lived in California voted Republican, there would be some seats flipped because they just gerrymandered their state, saying that now they'll have these blue seats. Those blue seats are not guaranteed. If all the Republicans voted, now California is a little bit different because they cheat. Okay, they have 55 million mail-in ballots. We just watched them literally steal the election last week. Okay, We know what happens in California. I'm just using them as an example because they're a very blue state. I don't believe they're a very blue state. I think they cheat and Republicans don't get out and vote. So I'll use, okay, Georgia, because it's supposed to be purple, right? Georgia's purple is what they want to say. No, Georgia's red. It's just the Republicans don't get out and vote. We see it in the primaries all the time. There's a runoff right now. That's the 16th. So we'll see. But normally the Republicans, 25 to 30% of Republicans get out and vote. That's why it's purple. If 100% of Republicans got out and voted, it would be red. But it's because they don't get out and vote, it stays purple. Or sometimes red, sometimes blue. That's why it's purple. So, yes, is there cheating? Of course, there's cheating in every election. But that's not what loses the elections. People not getting out to vote. That's what loses the elections. So, anyway, so that is how we really unite. It doesn't need to be a revolution. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. It needs to be, hey, I'm sick of the Democrats, the Democrats, the leftists, the Marxists, the communists. I'm sick of them. We need to get them out of office because, number one, they just keep stealing our money. Our tax money doesn't go to anything it's supposed to go to. It goes in their pockets. They just steal our money with all their fake hospice, daycares, whatever they're doing. I mean, how much fraud has been found in the last year? Get them out of office. That's what you do. You don't have to do anything crazy. People want to think of the dramatic things. How about the easy things? The easy things. You walk in, you vote. There's early voting. I don't like early voting, but I use it because it's legal and it's here. It literally takes me 5 minutes to vote. Even in the primary where there was 8 Republicans in the primary, it still took me 5 minutes to vote. Now, I already knew who I was voting for. So I went in, pushed all the buttons, because it's the Dominion machines, unfortunately. Pushed all the buttons. They print out the paper. You read the paper to make sure it matches. You take it over and you put it in the scanner. Your vote's counted, they say. Right? 5 minutes to vote. It doesn't take that long. Even my sons, first time voting, took them a little bit longer because it was their first time. But not long at all. So it's not, it's easier than saying, oh, we're going to start a revolution, right? It's way easier. Just know when your primary is, vote. Know when your general, which everyone will know the general because everyone's general is the same, and go vote. Primaries, very important. You get the rhinos out. We've seen it the last 3 months. We've gotten some rhinos out, which, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. We just have to keep that seat red. We got the rhino out. Now we got to get the conservative in there, which most seats will be easy. Some seats are going to be harder. Like, unfortunately, that seat in Texas that we think, man, that was a red seat. Oh, no, wait a minute. That was a Democrat seat. Sorry. because that was Jasmine Crockett's seat. Okay, so here's a chance. Forgot that was Crockett's seat. We can't let Tellerico win. Again, I'm not in Texas. I can't vote. But if you're watching and you're in Texas, November, make sure you don't vote for Tellerico. He is crazy. He said God's non-binary, abortion's not in the Bible, which the word abortion is not. Pedophilia is not in the Bible. The guy's a demon. So very easy to fight this. This is easy peasy. Most likely where you got to go to vote is 5 to 10 minutes from your house. I mean, at least where I live, that's how pretty much it is. It's all small towns around here. So it's kind of like it is. It's like 5-10 minutes from your house. It just depends. If you're living in a big city, I don't really know how they work anymore. I haven't voted in Baltimore since 2012. So I don't know how the voting is there, but I would assume still the voting's pretty close. They have probably just more voting precincts than they do here because it's smaller towns. But so the goal is to vote. Stop letting them divide us by race. That is the moral of the story. Okay? This country is not racist unless it's induced by the media and the left. Because I don't always look at people by their race. At least I try not to. I mean, it's kind of hard when you're describing somebody and you're like, the black guy that sits behind me. I mean, what else are you supposed to say? But I mean, I'm not like, I don't want to talk to them because they're black. I don't do that. I'll just say, the black guy that sits in the fourth row of church is what I'm saying. I'm describing church. Okay. Which again, they would say that the white girl that sits behind me on the fourth row, they would talk about me the same exact way. The white girl that has the red hair, you know what I mean? That's the way you describe people. But again, I don't not talk to them. I don't talk to anyone because of, let me talk to them so I look inclusive. Let me go talk to the black people. Let me go talk to the, Hispanic people so I look inclusive. I love everyone unless you give me a reason not to. I'll love you no matter what. But I like everyone unless you give me a reason not to. And there's some white people that get on my nerves. I'll be honest. So it's not exclusive to a certain race. It's all. There's some I like, there's some I don't, in all the races. So please don't fall for the junk propaganda, like my friend said, propaganda war. Let's not fall for that. Let's be smart. Stick to the goal. The goal is win the midterms so we can keep the House and the Senate. Hopefully get rid of the rhinos that'll stop blocking stuff that are policies that we voted for Trump to get in there. Right? We want the Save America Act. We want more deportations. We want, stop trying to trans our kids. Stop trying to have men and women's sports. Common sense stuff. That's the main thing. These are the main ideas. Okay? Yes, you may not agree with stuff Trump's doing. But we can't let the lefty Lulus get in control. This country will be flipped upside down because we will only have President Trump, they will impeach, and they will impeach Vance, and they will impeach Pete Hegseth, and they will whoever they can to get them all out. So we have got to make sure that that is the important thing. We can't control everything, but we can vote. That is how we control majority of things. If people realize how strong our votes are, but they don't, because they look at the big picture. Start with the main little things, which aren't little. But I'm saying is, when you vote, you can control your vote. And if enough people vote a certain way, we get our policies. That's what it comes down to. Get the rhinos out. Get conservative people in there that will vote on our policies. Mass deportations. Stop training our kids. Stop having men play women's sports. And you know, the other thing that they want to do is they want to make abortion okay up to birth and past birth. That's another thing that they're trying to push if they get back in power. So all these things are the important things. I know we want to look at the economy, gas prices. Yes, all those are important. But let's be honest about the gas prices. Let's be real honest, okay? The gas has went up not even $1 where I live. Well, it went up and then it came back down. So I'll say it hasn't even went up a whole dollar and stayed over a whole dollar for longer than a week or two. Like $1 is not really that much if you think about it. Like, you think it's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy how much gas went up. Now, yes, that's where I live. It's pretty conservative where I live. That might be the reason. I would say most likely that's the reason. But yes, there's states and cities that are $2 a gallon. But still, there was places in this country that was $6 a gallon when Biden was in there. So put that in perspective. Like, yes, it sucks right now that gas is what it is. I went to buy the Walmart today. It was $3.39. Okay. I didn't get gas. I should have, because I need gas. I'll just have to get it tomorrow. But it may go down again. It may go up. It is what it is. But yes, that is affecting your life. But think about the future life, your children, your grandchildren. Okay? Think about the transgendering of children, men and women's sports, abortion up to birth. This is future. This is not now. We want to look at now. Think about the future. Think about your kids. If you have young kids, if you have grown kids, think about your grandkids. Okay? I can tell you right now, if my daughter was in school and a boy came in her bathroom, I would be up at that school probably knocking someone out. Think about that. Do you want boys going in the bathroom with your daughter or your granddaughter? Think about your daughter getting pregnant and they talk her into having an abortion at 5 or 6 months pregnant. These are the things that you need to be thinking about. Instead of, oh my gosh, gas is high right now. And oh my goodness, it's not going to stay high. But these policies will stay in effect because it will take another 4 years, which at that point, what can happen in 4 years to get those policies overturned? So please be thinking about this, praying about it. Please be praying anyway, because our leaders need our prayer. They need our prayers for guidance to be doing what God wants them to do. They pray, they listen to God. So we need to be praying that they listen to God and not themselves. And then we also need to be praying for their safety and their family safety. These people that are leading our country right now get death threats every day, all day. Look how many times they've tried to kill our president. So this is the important things. I know we want to see now and all the things now, but think of the future. Think of your children and your grandchildren. This is what I do. This is why I fight the way I do about things. I don't ever think of myself. I think of what happens when my kids start having kids, because they're all grown. What's going to happen when my kids have kids and my grandkids are going to school or in sports? All these things. That's what I think about. Not anything that's going to affect me, because none of this affects me. I don't care about any of this. I'm a grown woman. I'm past all that. But my kids and their kids are not past all this. So I have to think about that, because that's what matters. So I thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little bit of a crazy episode. I really didn't know which way I was going to go with this. I just got so sick of hearing about race for the last 4 days that I was just like, I'm going to talk about race. And then it went off onto, the elections, because they make the difference on how it goes with the race. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Please like and share. Thank you so much for the stars. Thank you so much for commenting. And I am so thankful for anybody that watches, likes, and shares. I really just want people to get out and hear truth. Because nothing I'm speaking is my opinion. This is all true stuff. This is truth that I'm talking. And it may be things you will never hear if you don't watch the news or you don't watch the things that I watch. And you don't know about where other people live. That's why I said, where I live in a small town, it's different than you may live in the city. I grew up in Baltimore City. In Baltimore City, it's horrendous right now. It's just god awful. So there is different than here. So everyone gets to hear a different experience. I know I went off on a whole tangent on when I grew up, but I was just trying to prove a point of, I'm talking between a decade and a half of never having to worry about racism, and then now that's all we hear for the last decade and a half. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. I hope that you have a blessed evening. I will not be on tomorrow unless it's pouring down raining, because I'm going to try to go swimming tomorrow. But if it's pouring down raining, I'll be here and I'll be doing this. But if not, I'm going to be swimming, hopefully, or at least tanning. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great, blessed evening, and I will see you Sunday, if not tomorrow. Thank you so much.